Peace, love, and light, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. As you guys know, I'm Amina, but if you're new here, please do subscribe, like, and comment below. This is a shadow work reading. So automatically brace yourself, prepare yourself for what comes out in these readings, because what channels in for the collective during these readings can be very deep, can be very dark at times, but there are no problems without solutions, and I always provide the solutions. This is a general reading for the collective, so only take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And of course, as always with any readings, be them personal or collective, you're responsible for your actions and reactions to those readings. This is Saturday, so we're tapping into the energy of Saturn, protection, banishing, and cleansing. Cleansing out what no longer serves your higher purpose, banishing anything that might have been negative or wrong or unjust towards you, and opening a way for protection and purity to come in. So we have my soul sister Tina. I'm using her wand for breaking the chains. That's what I've been charging these cards that came out here with. Now this really isn't necessarily a pick a card reading, because energetically I feel like all of these cards are going to flow into each other. However, as they were coming out, I still felt that some may resonate with certain parts of what came out more than the other, as each deck was resonating energy. And it's still that way. Each of these decks feel like they seamlessly flow together, but then I'm also picking up some of you may resonate with one set more than the other. So because of that, I've done them this way, where they're kind of broken up into three parts. So you can choose visually which one you feel is the core of your story, which one's calling you. It could be deck 1, 2, or 3. But if you resonate with all three, if you really can't decide, then you may be one of those people where all of these flow into what's going on with you or what has happened with you. I recommend watching all three. All right. So with that out the way, let's hop right on into the reading. Because these cards flow together, I'm going to start with one and just keep going and leave them all visible. I also have the bottom of the decks. Normally, I get the sensation to check the bottom of the deck as we get near the end, but this time around, I was actually advised by Spirit to leave them face up. So I'm going to get to them at the end, but we're going to get into set one of these cards right now. There'll be no timestamp because, like I said, I feel like they all flow together. But if you resonated with one pal, then we're going to start with the one you resonated with. So the first tarot card we have, Nine of Swords. This is waking up from a very traumatic experience. This could be inner child for some of you. For some of you, it is. It's just an inner child. I've been picking up on a lot of people that have to clear inner child wounds, ranging anywhere from the age of, honestly, infancy up to at least 17, 18 years old, because for many people, you stayed with someone that inflicted that trauma for about that length of time. For others, I feel like the Nine of Swords is the woulda, coulda, shouldas. Actually going through the, I could have done this, I could have done that, why didn't I go about it this way? Putting too much pressure and drama and trauma on yourself. So it's not always an outside entity. Sometimes an outside entity or person triggers what's happening, but at some point your subconscious allows for the story to keep being told over and over, and it's like constantly in your mind thinking about what you could have done to change the outcome, what you could have said, and you spend so much time in that you start to lose yourself. There becomes a separation between the core of who you are and the facade that you have to keep up, because most of the time people who go through those I could have done's, they put up defenses. They become very defensive. So your anger in your mind is protection. It's really not. It's detrimental. You put up not letting people in. It's not always that the person has to be mean. Sometimes it's that people try to get close to you and you're always keeping them at arm's length. What if you hurt me? What if I fuck up with you? What if I make a mistake and you hold it over my head, like heavy hanging over your head? What if? And you spend so much time doing that you're drawn further and further away from who you really are. And I don't just mean that as obviously the divine being that you're born on, because we're all born of the divine. We are all divinely created, and therefore we ourselves are divine. We're all connected to source. However, As an individual, we have our own unique ways of expressing what we are and who we are. Something that goes beyond a name, it goes beyond skin tone, it goes beyond culture. It's something that is purely us. It's what gives us a soul scent and a soul sense. And when we can't connect to that, when we can't even see that, we fall for every illusion that exists: self-doubt, depression, loss of love, believing that love is a lack mentality, when truly love is abundance, is born of abundance to be abundant. We start believing in false narratives of what romance is, what friendships is. You start calling people that you know aren't your friends friends. All of this is channeling in with just this one card for this group. So if you chose this, there's a lot that you need to wake up and open your mind out of. Right now, your mind is tormented by a lot of bad decisions and or things that other people have done to you, and you're clinging to it mentally. And remember what you always hear me say from my regulars: what you think and believe becomes your reality. You create your reality. No one else can create your reality more than you can. The cause and effects, the actions and the reactions are all built upon what you believe about yourself, about your universe, your personal universe that's around you, as well as the exterior universe that you also are a part of and you live in. And guess what? Those thoughts then contribute to the collective. We're like dominoes. What affects one is going to eventually affect the other. The key to it is, can you tap enough into yourself to free yourself of that personal matrix, that personal hell, whatever that may be for you? And sometimes that involves somebody actually saying to you, wake up. You've been in a nightmare dream state and it's time to wake up. It's an illusion. So a lot of you've been going through dark night of the soul. Nine of Swords in this incident feels like that. It feels like the dark night of the soul. Some of you are carrying traumas from past lives even into this existence, and you don't understand that that's what's happening. You might have been given hints and you might go, well, that's too far-fetched. But again, you're sitting here watching a psychic use cards that I don't need, by the way, to tell you what your story is. And if you're resonating with it, then you already know that the only way that can happen is for me to be tapping into your energy and your spirit, or rather for your spirit to be seeking help and to find this collective reading in order for you to get some enlightenment. Darling, nothing is too far-fetched. And darling also came out in another reading from before. So I'm feeling like some of y'all might relate to one of those masculines, or you could be the masculine from that reading. This energy here is all unisex. I'm picking up divine feminines and masculines, but it feels like you haven't stepped in to that divinity. You haven't stepped in to that power. And that's the issue. There's a need to become familiar with self, to recognize self through your creativity, through actually sitting down and having conversations with yourself from within, whether that's meditation. Don't knock it until you try it, and when you try it, do it right. Too many people get into mystic work and meditations and spells work and all these different things, and they just kind of throw themselves into it. They don't actually really listen to how they're being guided, whether it's coming through spirit or whether spirit sends it through a mentor. They just sort of do whatever seems to make sense at the time, and it makes them very scatterbrained. I'm feeling like a lot of you that have this card, that's what's happening. You see how she's holding her head like, some of you might have migraines. Somebody has a severe migraine, but you get these severe migraines whenever your health is trying to show you that you have too much pressure on yourself as well as from someone else. And like I always say, whether it be entities or people, because I'm not going to bullshit you and act like there aren't beings out there made of low vibration that actually do fucked up shit to people. My job here is to keep it a buck with you. Whether it be people or entities created from people or from something else, they all only have power when something in your conscious or subconscious mind believes they do. Your belief system makes up how your world works, even if it doesn't affect anyone else. So somewhere in you is a belief that you can be defeated by such a thing. For some of you, this is addiction. And I'm talking fast because it's all coming in here fast. For some of you, it's an addiction to something. It doesn't necessarily have to be drugs, but for some of you, it is. For many of you, it's an addiction to some type of trauma because you think you deserve it. And so your shadow side is going a bit rogue now, because your shadow side originally starts as a shield, as a protective shield. And what starts to happen is, as a shield, think about what a shield does. While it guards you, it takes the brunt and the weight of all the hits that are coming in. So think of this shield as something that's taken all those hits and then absorbed it, and it was never purified out. It was never confronted, dealt with, and cleansed. So now what's taking place is that shield is starting to not just wear and tear, it's starting to get tainted. It's starting to turn. I call that going rogue. It's when the soul starts to do the opposite of its purpose. So that's where anger comes in, depression comes in, denying oneself, putting on a facade, feeling like you have to pretend. I'm seeing several people sitting at a table and you're not happy at this table, but be it for so-called friends or wannabe family members, I said what I said, I ain't stutter, you're putting on a mask. Like, I'm just so happy sitting here with y'all. But in your head, you're like, get me out of here. I don't want to be here. Get me out. But you're sitting there anyway. Remember, you walked up to the table, you pulled out the seat, you sat down. Even if the people around you made you feel like you had to sit there, something in the subconscious mind believed you had to sit there. And that's the real reason you sat down. So once you step into your power, you realize, I don't have to sit at this table. I don't have to hate any of you. I don't have to wish bad on any of you. In fact, I hope your souls are purified. But I don't have to sit at this table, whatever that table may represent for you. Let's get into the mirror. What's mirroring here? What's reflecting back to you? We have 17, which is number 8. So 8 could be a life path number for you. It could be a birthday. It could be an important day that something took place. 8 just stood out to me very much. 17 could be a number that you see a lot. 17. Remember I said some of the traumas took place within a certain age range. So some of you might have been 17 when this 9 of Swords situation really took root or grabbed onto you. And when you repeat the lesson, you feel like you're that age again, like you feel like you're 17 again. It's not going to be for everyone. And look at what the card says. Forgetting one's self. What was I just saying? Forgetting one's self. This is a phase. That's one of the things I love about this card is the moon phases, because you need to understand that everything in the mind, especially when it's negative, is temporary. When you want to think and manifest something positive, you have to make a ritual of it. You have to stay consistent with it. Well, the same thing is said when you're thinking something negative. Thoughts come and go. Moments come and go in a very fleeting sense in that aspect, because we really don't have time the way that we're perceived to think we have time. So even the thought of something being fleeting is an illusion. But it's an illusion that if you put enough belief into it, it becomes your reality. Moments seem to feel as if they're passing very quickly and very fast. And when you're going through something that feels hellish, it's like time mysteriously slows down. Fast forward, you're not 17 anymore. At least the majority of you watching this is not 17 anymore. But when you go through your traumatic experience, you feel 17 again. And then you have to remind yourself that that was up to an amount of years ago. So in one moment, something feels both long-lasting and fleeting at the same time. And in that moment, remember what I said about a mask? He's wearing a mask on one half of his face. This is the side that you show everybody. That's the side that either looks together, could also be the side that sometimes, and again, this is about shadow work, could be the side that sometimes puts on extra. You know, okay, I'm depressed, but I'm going to throw some extra sauce on how I'm acting depressed right now. Because you want comfort, you want people to have that empathy or that sympathy. But the problem is, when you throw extra sauce on something, you're also giving it power. Now you're manifesting it. You never stop being a creator. This needs to be understood. So this is telling you that you need to remember who you are. You need to actually tap into the core of who you are. And that goes beyond all of the surface level 3D bullshit that you've been tolerating as your identity thus far. Or that others may have been telling you, because I'm also hearing a male figure talk down to several different people. It's a different male figure for each one. For most of you, it's like a father figure, it could be an uncle, but it's like they're standing over somebody pointing and they're like talking down, like you ain't, and everything they're saying is like they're writing the words on you, like on your body, like you're imprinting everything that they say. And you might call yourself rebelling against it now. You might have done things that hurt yourself trying to rebel against that. But the issue here is all you did was hurt yourself. They didn't feel any of that. Even if they call themselves mad, disappointed, whatever, they didn't feel any of that. You do. And if this is someone who's like a parent figure to you, disappointing them still disappoints you. So you're just hitting yourself 2 times. And you needed to be told that bluntly. Spirit's not here to play with y'all today. We have Deny Shadow Oracle. What's the denied shadow? Self-care. What was I just talking about? Do you see what I'm saying here? This is the solution. This is what's denied. This is what the shadow hasn't been allowed. You need to, first of all, forgive yourself. Because that's, and I'm going to tell you right now, before we even get into these, that's going to be the chain link, because that's always the chain link. Forgiving yourself. Forgiving the people who did whatever. Not just for their sake, because they're going to do what they're going to do regardless. But you can't afford for every room that you walk into, for every person that you come across, to be a possible trigger if they so much as look, sound like that person. If anything, if you really feel that the vibration of someone new that you're meeting is similar to that person, it's a genuine feeling, then you know not to deal with them. But to have things ruined in your life because you're allowing someone else to have that heavy hanging over your head crap, no, that's not helping you. I always use the example of, imagine you get a amazing business deal or opportunity, and you walk into the office and the person that used to torment you isn't a head business person, but they're the janitor, or they're sitting at the table because they're a flunky. You're about to get a position that's over them, not to do to them what they did to you, but it's over them. Why are they a concern? Because in your mind, you're reverting back to whatever trauma they inflicted. Or you have an opportunity to go somewhere that's not even associated to them, could be a concert, could be anything, and you go and that person's there, and now your whole night is ruined because all you're doing is replaying a past experience that, truthfully, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you, once something happens in your past, it no longer exists. The only reason it holds weight in your present and in your future is because you cling to it. This goes into when people say, I'll never get over, I'll never have, I'll never let. Whenever you say that, you just spoke into existence what your present and future holds. Once you change the verbiage and you change the mentality and you change the belief system, because you have to do all three. You cannot do one over the other. It must be all three. Then you change the outcome. You've been neglecting yourself by forgetting who you are and not honoring who you are, and feeling like you have to wear a mask to appease people, even if sometimes it's to be a little manipulative. It's time to tap back into self-care and focus on your physical and emotional well-being. That's Spirit's not negotiating with you on this. This is what it is. This is the age of Aquarius, my loves. This is the 5. Many mystics will tell you it's the rose and the blade. Roses have thorns. You must actually take the time to chip away those thorns, those past experiences, in order to have a smooth vine, to allow that rose to be as beautiful as it's supposed to be. But the sword says you also have to sharpen the mind. And if that means you have to cut down some things that were in your way to clear a path, then so be it. But Spirit's not here to negotiate with you about that anymore, because many of you have been getting signs of this. You've had people randomly say, well, you got to take care of yourself. Well, you can't take care of anybody else if you don't take care of you. You know who you are, because that just hit home for you. You know who you are, but you haven't been doing it, or you do it a little bit and then you fall off, and then comes all of this mess again. Somebody comes in and starts putting crap in your head, and you're listening to it, and you blame it on loyalty, and you blame it on their family or their so-called friend. They don't do anything that a family member is supposed to do. Family goes beyond blood, my loves. It goes beyond blood. We're all family. Technically, we're all a part of the same source. We are literally all of each other. Every single culture, I keep it a buck with y'all. I don't have time for politics. Every single culture on this planet is connected to each other, is of each other. That means every background, every language, every belief system, they all tie into each other. No one is exempt from this. I don't care if your relatives came from another planet. Guess what? They're part of the great web of design. We are all a part of the same tapestry. Our souls, all of them, dance with each other, afflict each other. That's why when we think a certain way or we make a certain action, it also impacts the collective. This is why that is. So you're going to have to wake up and smell the foliage a little bit on this one. In order to really accept people in your circle that are really meant to be there, you have to love yourself and give yourself self-care, and say that you will no longer create space for anyone that doesn't honor you. You don't have to hate them. That goes against everything. That just triggers you backwards. You don't have to wish them bad. You put protection on yourself. Somebody want to try you on any given Sunday, then you show them your worth. But you don't have to combat and be conflicted in every single moment. And the reason it's coming out the way it's coming out right now is that's what the energy here is. It's like I'm talking to, this is how I would talk to a family member. I don't pull punches when talking to people I care about. I let you know what it really is. And I'm being told not to be soft. So some of you might have been going to other readers or other psychics and you've been talking with them and they've been a lot nicer about this, but they've been telling you the same thing. Self-care. This is the age of Aquarius. Truths are going to be revealed. Some people going to get hurt. Some people going to feel like their worlds are falling apart. Let the tower happen so that you can actually build a foundation that's worth being there. Spirit done had about enough. Let me say this properly. The divine and all of your soul family has had about enough of y'all putting carpet over floors that are caving in. They've had about enough of that. So they're going to show you what they need to show you to get you to wake up. The decision is yours. But you're never going to be able to say, they didn't tell me. They didn't lead me to what I needed to see or know. And that set alone is taking a while to get through. Let's move on to 2. Again, I'm just going to keep going. Look at that. We have, this Ace of Cups is about a new beginning. This is what's getting neglected. This is why I said all of these roll in together. But you may resonate with this one by itself. Emotionally, fulfillment is trying to come in. Divine fulfillment. Not just an offering of romance and love, but self-love. See how that ties back into self-care? Self-love is trying to wake you up. Your higher consciousness that's connected to the core of who you are. The inner God, inner goddess, light body, the source. It's trying to communicate to you there's a fulfillment here. It's literally just right around the corner. But in order for us to give it to you, in order for us to pass it on, you must align with us. You have to be in alignment. That's what your higher self is saying. We're going beyond just the 7 chakras. Okay? That's a start. But we're going beyond that. That's a start. Some of you really need to start there because you're too much in your survival chakra. And some of you are so much in survival mode, so much in self-neglect mode, it's affecting your body. Ladies, when the sacral chakra isn't getting the proper energy and affection that it needs, it can create health issues within the body. There is no health issue that can't be reversed. Now, I can't give you legally, I can't give you medical advice. But what I can tell you from a mystic standpoint, from a psychic spiritual standpoint, there's nothing in the body that can't be healed. You can also see that in science and in physiology. We have the ability, we have everything we need to regenerate what we need in the body. Organs, everything. But this is speaking to someone who's not taking care of their emotional state. It's affecting their body physically. So for those of you that resonate with that, and you've been feeling a certain way, you've been to the doctors don't know what it is. They're like, well, from what we can see, there's nothing wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. Now you know what the problem is. It's your choice if you hop on fixing it or not. Okay? But there's an emotional fulfillment, a divine. The Ace of Cups is divine emotional fulfillment. It's divine self-love. If it's a romantic love coming in, it's divine. And it wants to flow. It wants to flow freely. I also want you to pay attention to the scenery because this is the deck they led me to. This scenery, this swamp area here, it feels like what lotuses grow out of the mud. And it feels like that. It feels like an area that you wouldn't necessarily think is necessarily rich and beautiful, but then here's this beautiful cup just sitting in the middle of it. Most things that are worth having can sometimes be amongst the muck, amongst the grind. And so we have to go through the muck and the grind and the murky waters to get to that divine thing that we deserve. In other words, you must face your shadow and deal with all the things that shield that now may have been going rogue or might be full of a lot of traumatic experiences and trauma. You must now confront that in order to get to the release and the freedom that you deserve. Because something I find that some of y'all have a hard time understanding, you don't have just one life to live. That's a phrase that someone invented one day out of the blue. You have multiple. This is how you're carrying past life experiences. This is how you're carrying different traumas. When you pass on, there is a gradient. I'm a person that likes to educate about that gradient. And when you're in that gradient, you get to see all the things in this incarnation that you've experienced, sometimes even from incarnations before. And there are lessons that you will repeat, that you will go through again until you figure it out. So if you want that freedom and you want to be able to go into that next realm, that next dimension, then you have to be willing to go through the muck, face your shadow side, deal with the insecurities, forgive the people and yourself, self first. If you can't forgive yourself, it's very hard to forgive others, and then release. Don't think about how hard it is. Don't think about, oh, I've been trying, it's so complicated. Do it. We're in that year of do. This is the year of commitment. This is the year of doing. You will either commit to yourself and do the work, or you won't. That in between space of I'm trying, I tried. If I sat down with you in a soul session or a personal reading, we will find that you didn't try enough. And we got to be honest about that, because that Nine of Swords. That Nine of Swords said I was still getting in my head. I was still thinking about putting on a mask. I was still not giving myself the proper self-care. I always found something else to do, or something always seemed to just appear for me to do that I couldn't focus on getting my emotions intact, getting aligned. Some of y'all have, I'm gonna tell you right now, because a lot of people don't talk about this, and it's almost like a pandemic in and of itself. Twin flame unions nowadays aren't like they were back in the ancient times. They're not everywhere. Twin flame unions have missions to do, both individually and together. And when one of those parties isn't fulfilling their tasks, that other one still has no excuse to not fulfill theirs, and they will be given someone that can walk the path with them. They may not walk it the way that that so-called twin flame would have walked it, but they'll walk the path with them. And so, because those missions are so important, I want you to think of twin flame unions as a drop. And that drop creates the ripple. And those ripples are all the other different soulmate connections that start to link together and take place to change the vibration of how the world works. So when y'all are so quick to assume you have a twin flame, ask yourself, are you ready for that mission? Is the person that you're thinking about ready for that mission? And if you keep getting the signs that that's what you have, and it's a legit sign, it's not something you're hunting for, then I'm going to tell y'all what I've been saying from the beginning of this channel. What I channeled back in March. Get ready to be ready, because not ready is not an option. The things, the events, what's going on in the world is going to take place whether you decide to move or not. But your lack of movement, your lack of actually getting up and doing what you need to do, it's not going to stop the movement, but it will have an effect and an impact on your life. If you're sitting up in your room when you should be outside right now, you're not just affecting yourself, you're affecting the collective. And it will reflect back. It will mirror back. So remembering who you are means remembering the divine person you are. And soulmates are not off the hook. The ripple is powerful. It's a powerful position to have as well. There's no one above the other. Soulmate connections help to mold the different karmatic experiences that you have in life. Now, over the years, people have started to call things different things. Words have gotten all mixed up. Karmatic partners aren't your soulmates. What they are people who can bind a soul tie to you, not the same as a soulmate, but they can create a soul tie with you. And when they create that soul tie, it's based on different experiences, energies, and vibrations that are already existing in your life that they reflect back at you that you need to heal and then let go. So every time you cling to a karmatic partner, try to say that's your soulmate or twin flame or this or that, you are clinging to a trauma. And you constantly, do you understand that there are people who have had karmatic partners that are quite dangerous, that they've lived multiple lives with? There's actually a woman that you can research on your own that's documented. She did a past life regression. And she's not the only one, but she's one that you guys can find if you are so inclined or curious to. And she kept reliving her life with a man that was literally killing her. He killed her like 19 times out of the 20 times that they were reincarnated. And he almost killed her again in her current incarnation. She had to go through a past life regression to figure that out. Think about that for a second. Y'all sometimes are clinging to things that aren't emotionally fulfilling. You don't think about the physical consequences. You don't think about the mental consequences. You don't think about the spiritual consequences. And it's time to actually wake up. And the way to do that is by accepting who you truly are. And then as you accept who you truly are, then you start to see all of the sacred reasons of the incarnation of who you are now. And you appreciate all the other incarnations that people have. You don't argue about cultures, religions, this, that, and the third. Because if you really understood who you are, if you really understood that you are all one family and you're all telling the same dang story with different human interpretations and manipulations, you would figure out that, wait a minute, we were all supposed to connect and unify anyway. And so those unions, those romantic unions, help to bring in that connection. And it all starts with self. We're going to get into the mirror. What's the reflection of that? Look, if it wasn't for the fact that this video is already going over the time, I would actually have y'all just like stare at that for a good second. We have forgetting oneself, hiding your true self, the mirror, hiding who you are, not accepting who you are, allowing for other things to create excuse, hiding in the room, hiding in the woods, hiding. I just keep seeing people hide. They're in front of people, they're talking, but they're hiding. You feel? You dig what I'm saying? This is why I said I would keep going and all these cards connect. In order to get this emotional fulfillment, you have to stop hiding from yourself. If there's something you don't like about yourself, why? Look in the mirror. Question, why? Why don't I like this thing about me? Where did it come from? Why did it start? If it is an actual thing that you would dub negative, and I mean that in the sense that maybe you find that you're a hateful person, maybe you think you're too angry all the time, how do you fix it? What do you need to do to change it? Don't worry about your mama, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins 3 times removed. What do you need to do to change it? People will treat you how you allow them to treat you. What you tolerate is what you will get. So if you want all this other stuff to change, what are you willing to do with yourself, within you, to activate that change? And you have to face yourself in order to do that. You can't lie about who you are anymore. And you've already seen the signs of this. We're going to keep going. Like I keep telling y'all, the cards are here to help you see what I already see. Unconscious beliefs. Beware of what you are telling yourself. What are you telling yourself? If you don't like something about you, I don't care if it's physical, mental, whatever. Why don't you like it? Where did it come from? Where did that belief system come from? And do you realize that in your subconscious, you're consciously telling yourself that story over and over again? And it's creating the reality that you're experiencing, because now every time you look around you, there's a different experience that seems to co-sign what you just believed about yourself. And then that puts you in a depression. That depression puts you in disappointment. The disappointment makes you angry. You see how it just keeps going. Anger has a purpose. Even fear, to an extent, has a purpose. The problem is the human interpretation of what they mean and the human interpretation of why they exist. Do you understand that if you were to go by your human interpretation, should you land on a planet that's absolutely peaceful, people don't, they bicker from time to time, but it ain't that deep, you would be the person that would feel like some really effed up stuff would have to happen in order for that world to make sense. That's how much the human perception of things has been warped. It's time to get into your higher consciousness. It's time to accept that light body, God body, celestial body energy and actually elevate up out of the bull, is what I'm hearing. Again, Spirit's not pulling punches with anyone today. Let's get into the next set. And we're breaking the chain. That's why I was led to use my Soul Sister's wand. The chains of all of this is breaking. But again, your mind, your mentality has to also evolve with strength. Again, I said, yep, 8. I also feel like, again, we're in the year of the 5. Look at that. We're in the year of the 5. And we have 14 here. 1 and 4 is 5. 14 might also be someone's birthday. Somebody might be born on Valentine's Day. Take what resonates when it comes to all of that. I just heard Tiffany. Somebody said Tiffany. I don't know who said Tiffany, but someone said Tiffany. It's an indescribable voice, so perhaps it was your guides that said Tiffany. Take what resonates for y'all. Some parts, this is collective, so everything's not going to be for everyone. But strength. You have to tap into your strength in order to give yourself proper self-love, in order to be able to allow yourself to know who you are, stop hiding the true you of who you are, and to break those unconscious beliefs that you have. In other words, free yourself from the 9 of Swords. Step into the Ace of Cups energy. Allow the new beginning to begin. What's the mirror to this strength? Obsession. What type of insecurities are you obsessing about? Who are you obsessing about? And it came out just like that. Who are you obsessing about? What did I just say about some of y'all dealing with like karmatic soul ties and partners that you think are soulmates, or you put that on there because a lot of people miss the word. The word soulmate is very misused, even amongst people who've been doing this type of work for a very long time. It's the way they were trained to hear the word. But the further back in ancient we go, the more you find that soulmate had a completely different meaning than what we sometimes tie it to. Nonetheless, you're attaching yourself to someone or something. I said it how I said it. I didn't stutter. You know who you are. Because I feel like that part right there was really key for someone. But you're attaching yourself to someone or something that's not, it's not a divine counter to you. It doesn't flow with what you are or who you are. And you need to tap into strength in order to break that. Break that bond. Because true strength is infinity. To infinity and beyond, I just heard. Somebody just said that as they were watching this video. To infinity and beyond. Yeah. All that jazz. Perhaps this is the Tiffany. We have a 3 here for Trinity. I'm feeling like divine feminines that are coming in here. Some of you know this energy as the Sophia energy when it's tapping into the higher creator consciousness, because again, the reason that we say divine feminine and divine masculine, there's actually a purpose. It's not about title. We're not going to sit here and have title debates in the comments, okay? The Sophia energy is the Greek term, but every culture around the world has a term for the creator energy. And the creator energy, which would later on, due to the patriarch, be turned into masculine God energy, was originally the divine feminine energy. The divine feminine is the only being, even in its physical form, that can go within itself to create life. And in creating that life, it creates the co-creator, which is the masculine energy. This is why divine feminists wake up first and feel like they have the heaviest weight of the spiritual awakening, and why the masculines follow therefore after, and sometimes have the hardest times coming to grips with what they are. Both energies are meant to be respected for what their position holds and for who they are and for how they influence. And you are born automatically with both of those energies within yourself, regardless of what your container is. By container, I mean body. So regardless of what physical form you take, you carry the divine feminine, divine masculine within. But it's important to tap into the sacred nature of who you are as well. And that's coming out more and more and more. So what or who are you obsessing about that's keeping you from tapping into that creator energy? And divine feminines, I feel like that's directed towards you. For divine masculines, it's definitely a person. Who are you tolerating in your atmosphere that's keeping you from tapping into your co-creator and your creator energy? Tapping into the divine mother, divine father energy. Something's putting a block there, and it's time you wake up from it. Let's get into the denied shadow. We have karmatic partner. I really, if I could, I would just like leave all this here and just like let y'all just sit with that for a minute. We have karmatic partner. Again, X out the soulmate, think soul tie, but we have difficult soul tie. Some of you could have a difficult soulmate as well. Again, if a person's not operating from the same level that you are, then you focus on yourself. You don't have to wish them bad. You don't have to wish them anything, but you detach from thinking that how that union comes together has to be this perfect rainbow story. And you also detach from thinking that it has to be such a bad downhill battle. Every twin flame union, every soulmate union, how it comes together, they're all uniquely different. All of them. Literally, there are no two that are absolutely the same. So with that being said, stop trying to have an idea on, oh, if I know that this is what my partner's doing, then I can go this way with it. You can't control it like that. But if you focus on yourself and you give yourself some love and you break your unconscious beliefs and you start to remember who you are and you allow your true self to show, you break out of the nightmare, you step into your emotional fulfillment, you gain the strength you need to get over the obsession of it all. And then you can break your karmatic ties, whomever or whatever it may be. For some of you, it's tied to family, because I'm seeing that guy again. I'm seeing somebody like pointing their finger down at someone, like talking crap, like talking down to them, maybe being abusive. I'm seeing them pointing, and they're always feeling this need to stand over whoever it is, even when the person got taller. So Whomever you are that was dealing with that from family, that's their issue. It's not yours, and it's time to move on from it. But you have to break obsessing over it. Bottom of the deck cards that we have here, again, breaking the ties. We have Three of Swords, right? And look at that. I picked up the cards, and I picked them up where it felt like I had all the cards, and Ten of Swords was at the bottom of this. So yeah, a lot of you have to break up out of this pinned down, dragged down, can't move vibration. How do you break, other than everything I've just said, how do you come up out of that Three of Swords energy? Being peaceful among thorns. What this is channeling into me is, again, some of you are not peaceful amongst yourself. You're sitting at a table with individuals where you feel like you have to wear a mask. And that's not a peaceful state. You must learn how to tap into peace within yourself, even when you're in a challenging situation that you feel that you can't just break up out of quickly. If you can't tap into that inner peace when you're amongst the thorns, remember I was speaking before about taking the thorns off of a rose, then it's going to be more difficult for you to accept who you are. So this is a meditative state that one needs to go into. Let go of feeling the need for revenge. I was moved to move the card to look at that. And that was 26. I feel like somebody might be 26, or again, something may have happened when you were 26. We have neediness. Again, obsession. Who are you clinging to, or what are you clinging to that you have unrealistic expectations of that you need to let go of? Look at that. Self-awareness. And we also have Wheel of Fortune at the top of this one. I'm telling you, blessings are trying to come in. They're around the corner, but you have to go through these other challenges in order to accept those blessings. How can you expect to really acknowledge or know what your blessings are if you can't even acknowledge and face what the problems are? That's the solution. That's the key. That's the chain that needs to be broken. The obsessions, the not realizing self, the accepting the nightmare as a reality when the nightmare is the illusion. It's a mental space. It's temporary. Okay, my loves. The higher me that just did all that talking is now about to take a chill pill. So with that being said, I put protection and blessings over all of you. This was not a personal reading. If it was a personal reading, this could have went a whole different direction. We go very deep in personal readings. So if you feel that you need a soul session, which is very different than a reading, a soul session, you can read what that is on my website. There's a tab for it. But if you feel you need a soul session, you can book one with me. I'll have the 3 slots open soon. So if you book now, you would automatically be within one of those 3 slots. But this here, if you resonate with all of this, if you resonate with part of this, may those solutions give you clarity and guidance. Peace, love, and light, beautiful beings.